Hi friends, in our time together today, I'm going to introduce the Rolling Waves Jig. No, not that one. You see, there are two popular jigs named the Rolling Waves, and the other one is also called the Humors of Trim. It's a great jig, but the one I'm introducing today is the Rolling Waves Jig that's also called the Lonesome Jig and Maguire's March or Maguire's Kick, a few of the names. And this really speaks to the fact that this is probably an older tune, and when we get to the history, I'll tell you why I'm like certain of that. Because that meant it traveled around the country of Ireland in a time before things were really standardized, and so as the tune hit somewhere else, it got a different name. If you're a beginner whistle player, please do not let the fact that this is a jig intimidate you. You could still play this jig in rhythm with ornaments. Just play it at the pace you can play it. And if you're able to go to the races playing this at full jig speed, have a great time. But remember, play at the pace you can, not at the pace you can't. You play at the pace you can to work up to the pace. There's a speed at which you can't play it today, and you will be able to play it at that speed in the future if you begin where you can and then work your way in that direction. We'll follow the normal pattern. I'll provide a link to the music and tabs so that you could download those if you use them, and I'll put that in the notes to this video. I'll stand and walk through the tune so that you could see my hands, so that you're able to learn it that way and also figure everything out. And we'll go through and talk about any challenges you might experience, some ornament ideas, and also the minimal history of the tune that we actually know. Now, as a jig, this has two parts to it. There's the first part called the A part, and then that repeats, and then the second part, the B part, and it repeats. And the A part is 8 measures long, the B part is 8 measures long. Pretty standard format. However, this jig follows more of a slide feel with that. Instead of dominated by triplets, it's a lot of long, short triplet, long, short triplet. And then the last line gets to a few measures of triplets dominating. But for the most part, it's long, short triplet. And so that's why some people feel like this one's kind of halfway between a slide and a jig. But a slide's a form of a jig, so some of these distinctions are completely immaterial. So what I want to do is I'm going to walk through the A part, standing so you can see my hands. I'll play it just once, then I'll do that with the B part, and then I'll play the entire tune, including the repeats. So here's the first part of this Rolling Waves Jig. All right, so that's the first part, and you'd play that twice. Now, the second part. And you'd repeat the second part as well. As I play it, I just want to get into the pace of it. So, but when you're learning this whole, dial yourself back from a speed standpoint. I'll now play through all of the Rolling Waves Jig, the A and the B part, with the repeats at a slow pace so that you could see the entire tune. All right, so that's the whole tune. If you're learning primarily by watching me play it, then go back and do the A part with me a few times till you're a little comfy. Do the B part with me a couple of times till you're comfy. And then just do the whole play along with Scott's section for the entire tune. And after doing that a few times, you'll have a good sense of it. Now, as far as difficulties go, the tune, one of the biggest challenges you're going to see is you have to get used to the tune. And then you have to play it at the pace you can. And so don't become exasperated with yourself over that, because you'll hear it played quite rapidly. Though not at a go to the races pace, but fairly quickly. And I'll play it for us in a couple of days. Well, at the pace I can. Now, remember the flow is gonna be the, I said that, long, short, triplet, long, short, triplet. And think of it that way and it might help you. And so that first long is really emphasized in the tune, but you're also going to hit some other phrases where you emphasize it. But the challenge I found as I was going through it, in that third measure that goes, I found that little jump from the A, D, E, F sharp, D, A, it's a little challenging. One of the reasons I do the scale exercises, so that's easier for us. So slow it down and work on some of that. As far as ornaments go, remember I said the first note of that long, short triplet. The long, I've heard one group play this as a march with bagpipes and drums, and so they'd start off with a really hard trill on that first note, and then throw some cuts into the triplets. But it's a good opportunity to throw some ornamentation on the step downs, a tap or cut on that long note, something to really emphasize it and hit it would be nice. Experiment with that some for yourself. As far as the history of the tune, I already said it's an older tune, and I wish there was something definitive. You're going to hear like, oh yeah, we're certain this was played at such and such an occasion. You know, honestly, nobody knows for sure. We're not certain of any of that. If you are certain, please drop a note in the comments. What we do know for sure is that this appeared in some of O'Neill's early collections, his collections of Irish music. And so I believe it first appeared in print in 1903. And that means that it was very popular, at least in the latter half of the 19th century, and had traveled around enough to go by a bunch of different names. So it's quite an old tune. Some folks say it's probably a lot older than that, but it's honestly difficult to know. So we can only go by what we know for sure. So anyway, I hope you really enjoyed playing this great jig, my friends. The Lonesome Jig, Rolling Waves Jig, Maguire's March Jig. I don't know. It's a blast. And I'll play it through in a few days. Until next time, this is Scott Shade. Happy whistling, my friends.